Hello and welcome back to Pseudoregalia. Today we're going to be doing quite a bit of progress, but first there's a few items we can collect that we couldn't get before. And a little bit me being a complete goober. But now we have this move, we can actually get to that middle door. Although not like this is just me being a complete idiot. And of course eventually I do notice the shape of the room, and there's a much easier way to do this. Yeah, here's what I notice. I can just do this. Always look for a curved wall, that's the trick. There's also another room we can deal with now that we couldn't deal with before. Or at least that I couldn't deal with before, which is here. But I figure out the best way of dealing with this, which is this. Probably something I could have done before, but I wasn't good enough at the game to do it at the time. Now I am. It's always satisfying to come back to a puzzle that's stumped you before and figure out how to actually progress in it. And of course with that we have extra health. And then down here of course we have this room, which leads to that one room with the incredibly fast cages. So let's see how we can work out what to do there. This is actually a really simple solution as well. That's nothing to do with it. So I came back here because I had that ability and thought that would be important, but it's not. It's just a matter of the cages move quick, but you just have to be quick too. That's what the upside down switches are for, so you can just get up there and do that. Which is very satisfying, really. Now here is a pretty important room. Well, not quite this room, but it's leading towards a really important area. Take care of the projectile enemy first, because that's always the way with these kind of games. Not the only thing I can do down there, so let's just keep going forward. And this is a pretty big room, where we have to raise this massive grate. Doesn't seem so big so far, but there are a lot of switches, and enemies too. It's a pretty cool room though, it reminds me a lot of classic Tomb Raider puzzles. Or with the whole raising a huge pillar in the middle of the room and using it to actually progress. So of course you have to find all these little switches that just keep raising the cage. Of course sometimes it can be hard to tell which ones you've already done, but there's also platforming to do to find some of them as well. And in this particular area I end up kind of slightly sequence breaking this puzzle. Slightly. It's just a matter of you can reach a switch from over here, so you don't have to go through that room with the enemies. But we'll find how we're supposed to get in that room in a bit. First, that's all the way up, as far as we can get it anyway. So let's go down this route. And of course I actually misunderstood one of the power-ups as well. It's not that we need to get 2 power-ups too. It's not saying we need 1 out of 2 power-ups to increase the amount of healing we do. It's more that each of those power-ups we got that one time actually heals an extra half a health circle. So at the moment we heal a health circle thingy and a half. So that was just I misread, but it's very easily done. It does look like it's saying 1 out of 2 and not half. You can kind of see it there as well, so of course you have to go all the way up as well. and just keep finding all these little switches all over the place. One thing that's quite good with this area is it's very, very varied in how each thing looks. You can always tell when you've done a ledge and when you haven't. What I'm kind of curious about is if at the end of the game will kind of like name the enemies. So I'm kind of curious what some of these are supposed to be. Like, I've been calling them things like the Hand of God and the sousaphone guys, but I don't know what the actual names for them are, because the game doesn't really give you much in the UI when it comes to actually naming the enemies. You just have to kind of guess based on what they physically are. So like the magic swords and the little golden spinny things. Yeah, because these are getting quite high now. Yeah, I was keeping an eye on that guy because I knew he'd do that. It seemed a little too obvious not to do that. But yes, that's clearly where we're actually heading towards. We just need to flip enough switches to be able to actually reach that area. And one thing that's quite useful with these kind of games is always looking for more enemies, because when you find an enemy, it means you also found a place you haven't been yet, which means you found a ledge you haven't been on yet. So that's a really nice reason that all these ledges are guarded by enemies, because it allows you to see at a glance, have I been here? There's no enemies, I've probably been here. Of course, I think the actual cage is at the topmost thing. I just took a little bit to realise that, because there's an aspect of the cage I didn't notice immediately. Which is that, as you can see just there, there's actually something above it that we can use. I just don't notice that immediately. And that's nothing. I thought that would be like to get you to an even higher point, but no, it's just to get you all the way up here. Yeah, that's clearly not going to work either. So the thing I miss is coming up shortly, I believe. You just need to take a look at a certain angle. Because kind of problem with these kind of puzzles is figuring out which switches you've actually hit and which you haven't. Because when there's a lot of switches, you often second guess yourself and think, oh, have I missed one? But no, all the switches are hit, I'm just being an idiot. Here it is, that's what I didn't notice, that little pole. So let's jump onto that pole, shall we? And that's what gets us the rest of the way up. That was just me being tragically silly. And this is quite a useful power-up as well. The Ascendant Light, which allows us to bounce off objects and enemies. Which means all those things we couldn't do before, now we can. We can do these now, and bounce off everything. Which is very nice. Careful not to fall down. Because of course up here leads back to this. Of course I thought that anyway, but this is just kind of a good way of showing how powerful the Ascendant Light is, because now we can actually use these little gold things to get up here. And it's very satisfying as well, and of course here I also noticed this that I missed before. So I decided to take a look at it, see if I can find anything interesting in here. It's a very, very tight little area. This is. It's very claustrophobic. Of course, we see a place we can get to up there, so let's try and head up there. With these very narrow ledges. I'm not entirely certain what that opened, to be honest. Because I have a feeling there's something in this area I may have just missed. So I may end up coming back around here later on just to take another look. Because as far as I'm aware, it might have just opened that, I think, but... I think it raised that, actually. Raising that doesn't seem to have really done much, because all this does is lead here, which only leads back here. It's a very weird little passage that I don't really know what the purpose of it is. I might double check that passage later on and try and just check that while I screw up the platform hilariously badly. Yeah, never do it when the enemy's on the ceiling. It can get embarrassing. But it is a very versatile move though, and I quite like it for that. So now we can actually get back up this shaft, which is very nice, because before it was a one-way drop. So we've also got other things here we can do now that we've got that power. Like we can get back up here, for example. And this isn't the only area we saw those, so it's over here. And get up here as well. And of course back here, now that we have that power, we can get through here. So let's save it first, just to avoid anything stupid happening. And finally we can see what this leads to. Because this room has been tantalizing us for a while now. I guess teasing might be a better term. Yeah, that might have worked if I was doing a speedrun strat, but it was... yeah. Let's go safer. And use that wall. Yeah, sometimes with these kind of games it's just a matter of figuring out the physics and figuring out how the movement really kind of works. Because sometimes when you have a new move it can kind of throw things off a little bit if you're not used to how it throws you. But it's not too bad to get a hold of until that happens. But at least it spawns you on the ledge, which is always nice. I like that it gives you that sort of safety valve where, like, if you fall off just as you're hitting a ledge, it will save you on that ledge. That's very kind of the game. It avoids a lot of frustration. This one's interesting, with a large cage. And it kind of combines some mechanics in a very fun way. In this next little section, anyway. Here we have to hit the switch while moving, and it also bounces a little bit higher as well, but of course I screw it up. But at least now I know what the trick is here. So let's just do it, shall we? Of course the game's not going to let us cheat at the puzzle, we do still need to redo the switch if we die. This is a pretty neat room as well. An awful lot of death floors and death walls hanging around. The little stool as well. It's always annoying when you just miss the thing and can't kind of recover. That's something I always hate in these kind of games, is when that happens, because it's so frustrating. But actually hitting them is quite satisfying. Better be careful there as well. Might be able to guess what that's moved. Yeah, it's easier to lead into a wall run with that dash thing because it gives us a lot more distance. So always lead into a wall run with that when you can. It's always nice if we can get out of the bounce pattern as well and back into the wall run. It's always quite stressful when you can't do that. Yeah, I'm trying to refill that little thingy because I thought that it's a refill on the thing, but apparently not in this case. Don't know why it's not doing it this time. Always get extra height when you can. And of course we have a very suspicious room here with a very big switch. Or at least a very prominently placed switch. And this switch actually does something we've been staring at this entire game up to this point. It's a very big switch that's very important. Here of course I was double checking something as well by getting back up here. It's just where we entered the room, I just wanted to make sure. Because my brain had kind of lost the layout of the room a little bit. That's a very heavy gate, sounds like. I wonder if I've ever seen a gate like that. I wonder what this opens to. The last gate in the corridor. And now, as you can see over there, this gate is now open. So let's finally see what's behind this big gate that we couldn't get through before. Now this actually really surprised me because I expected something in here. Because this is like a massive throne room and it looked very obvious, like very Dark Souls-y, very boss fighty, so I was expecting a big boss fight here, but you just grab the key and it's just done. It's very weird. It does a good job making it seem very desolate, the fact that the only thing surviving anymore are whatever has happened to that princess and the little servant guys. But there have been some enemies in this area. There was that one boss fight at the beginning, so I keep expecting another boss. I'm just never guessing one, it's very strange. So I'll see you next time. Now we have 4 to 5 keys. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and check out my Patreon as well. Speaking of, thank you to James Rossi for supporting me on Patreon.